Oh, hi there, everyone. How are you? I hope everybody is still pretty much relaxing, welcoming the new year as we've talked about. It's just kind of been a slow intro to the new year in my little world. Um, I'm thankful for that, definitely. It is now, what is it, the 6th? Goodness. So, no, 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 boo, no, no. Nope. Knock on it. Let me see here. 1 6 to 1 7. No, no. Boo, please. Please. Please, no nos. Boo is not happy about me getting ready to record here. We are starting to do 23, and that includes Discovery page 697 and pages 618 is what we'll be starting on. So we're going to go right to where we ended off with the NK interview. Um, that's hot. I've got my hot tea. And once again, I am trying to figure out how did it become lemon loaf with no lemon in the freaking ingredients? Because let me tell you what the ingredients in my lemon loaf tea are by Tazo. I love it. I use 2 tea bags and 4 individual French vanilla creamers. So it says here that the ingredients for the lemon loaf tea, get this, they are apple, natural flavors, green rubio, orange peel, chamomile, rose petals, licorice root, and ginger. There's nothing there that says lemon. I mean, as it's called lemon loaf, or do they just figure that they don't have to repeat themselves? Maybe so, huh? So I've got Boo hiding behind the laptop. So at any moment he can take over. He Because I'm starting to write with my right hand a little bit. Um, I'm not as strong with it, of course, because it's 3 weeks out of surgery. So he'll wait till I'm, really focused on trying to write something. And he'll go and he'll slap the pen out of my hand. He does not like me to pay any attention to anything other than him. And I've been so exhausted and sleeping so much. So he loves it because I'm his captive cuddle bug. And he'll just cuddle on me for hours and hours. And I love him so much. So it's fine. But he has to let me have time to do other things or talk to other people. He can't be so possessive. He's a possessive little man cat. So that was a trip reading all of that about Nicole in the last interview that we read. I mean, there's another one that is on video. I don't know if the transcript is out on it or not. I think it was Plunder that finally threatened to do a civil suit for them not coming forth with that last interview with Nicole and her daddy. And I read that once, so they were holding off, right? And then once, like I say, I believe it was Plunder, said, that's, you need to give it under the Freedom of Information Act, right? They finally agreed to do it, but they sent a ruse a copy first. I mean, how much power did they figure this family had? I mean, I don't know, but without further ado, let's see here. We were going through this. We read all of this. We read where she said that Nicole said she legitimately thinks his cheese was sliding off his cracker long before he met me. I'm not sure I've ever heard that expression before, but that's what she said. And then the next page goes on and it's just showing, where the attachments are in zip files for the discovery. And that was all signed off by Agent Kevin Kobach, and that was at page 6 of it, which leads us to page 619. And we're in my part 23 of my discovery series. And we are on discovery page 698. And we're over here in a supplemental with Joshua Rosenberg, the interview, and it stated she is a friend of Chris and Shanann. And they're saying that this report is chronicling the interview that occurred on 8/24/18 from 8:47 in the morning until 10 in the morning, so an hour and 13 minutes. And the reporting law enforcement officer was Agent Stacy Galbraith out of the Denver CBI. And it was approved on 8/24 by none other than Agent in Charge, Kirby Quinn Lewis. And it says CBI was requested to assist Frederick PD in a missing persons case / homicide. Joshua Rosenberg was identified as being a friend of Chris and Shanann Watts. Shanann worked with and was friends with the wife of Joshua Rosenberg, Cassandra Rosenberg. Joshua and Cassandra live in Arizona, but is moving to Colorado next week. Not is. Current address is in Kingman, Arizona, and the updated address is in Westminster, Colorado. Agent Galbraith interviewed Joshua Rosenberg by phone on 8/24/2018 at 08:47 hours. See narrative for details of interview. Well, I got it. The interview occurred on Kipling Street in Denver, Colorado. And let's see, that looks like that's at the CBI. So it looks like he is calling from the CBI office to them. And it states that witness number 1 is Cassandra Rosenberg. She's a person, a 33-year-old white female, not a juvenile, and her occupation is multi-level marketing, a Thrive. Her alias is Cassie Rosenberg. And the witness number 2 is Joshua Rosenberg, and it just straight up says he's a person. So there you go. I guess that maybe in this MLM tribe, the men don't have any identifying features. They're just identified as a person. And so the report date here, it goes down to say he's a 35-year-old white female. And his alias is Josh, not Joshua. All right, and then we're going over here. And the synopsis was, of course, CBI was requested to assist Frederick PD in a missing persons case homicide. Joshua Rosenberg was identified as being a friend of Chris and Shanann Watts. Joshua lives in Arizona but is moving to Colorado next week. Current address, redacted in Kingman, Arizona. Updated address, redacted in Westminster, Colorado. A little repetitive? I think so. Action taken. Agent Galbraith interviewed Joshua Rosenberg by phone on 8/24/2018 at 08:47 hours. Have I said that 5 times already? Because I think it has. It said 5 times. Josh is married to Cassandra, Cassie Rosenberg, who was previously interviewed by phone by Agent Galbraith on 8/15/2018. Cassie works at Lavelle with Thrive, as did Shanann Watts. That is how the Rosenbergs know the Watts. Oh, what a freaking surprise. Josh met Chris in person. God, did you hear that? My brain wanted to say in prison. And I think it's because my brain just did this, because where it says here Cassie works at Lavelle with Thrive, That's how Rosenberg knows the Watts. It's so funny because I'm going to tell you what my uplines know about me in the 2 MLMs that I was in, that I'm in recovery over, getting over. Out of them, you know what my uplines know about me? Nothing. Okay? They know nothing. You put on an image of what you want them to know because they're your boss like any other. And those that I met in the same position as me, at other meetings and whatnot, do you know what they know about me? Nothing. Okay? Do you know what my downline knows about me? Even less than nothing. Okay? It's all an image. I mean, so it's like these friendships that come up. Oh, she was a friend to everybody. No. She was putting on this image, this front for everybody. Very few people knew her. Very, very few people in the world knew the actual Shanann Watts. I would say that her mother knew a lot about her. Her husband knew a little about her. Her dad knew quite a bit about her. Her brother knew some about her. But there's not one person on this planet that knew everything about her at all. And the people who knew her, who were in her downline and whatnot, nah. Now remember, Christopher Watts testified that he said that she has a downline of 200. If she had a downline of 200, that would be miraculous, and she really wouldn't have had to have not made her car payment, house payment, whatever payments she was having to, because all of that money from her downline would have been coming in to her. She wouldn't have had to do a thing. She didn't have a downline of 200. That's maybe what she told Christopher, and it's very sad that he believed it, but maybe why he is what my brain wanted my mouth to say when I said Josh met Chris in person, and instead my brain wanted to say prison. So anyway, I'm going to try it one more time. Josh met Chris in person for the first time in Las Vegas for Thrive in February of 2018. What? What? Josh only met Chris in person for the first time in Vegas for Thrive in February 2018. Can I say that one more time? I mean, honestly, these people have been on TV shows and whatnot, and yeah, you know, Cassie knew Shanann longer, as we know, but Josh only met Chris for the first time in February of 2018, and these events transpired in August of 2018. We know that he certainly didn't see Josh in the 2 months while Shanann was in North Carolina. So how many times had Josh actually seen Chris in person in his life? And he was making such broad accusations and so enmeshed with this? That's very curious. These people that go on TV saying that, oh yeah, they were her friends and they knew her so well. No, they didn't. Why wasn't it broken down to how little they actually knew about her? And did they actually know this? And did they actually know that? And did they know that she wasn't making the house payments? Did they know that? Did they... come on. This is comical now. This is absolutely comical. So I'm going to say it one more time. Josh met Chris in person for the first time in Las Vegas for Thrive in February of 2018. So, essentially, 6 months before the tragedy, and she had been out of town for 2 months, and we know that probably was more like 3 months because of all of the others, so Josh really didn't even know Chris. Let's just say that. Shanann, Cassie, Chris, and Josh had all communicated with one another prior to this trip to Vegas. When Josh met Chris in person, they hit it off and started talking. They shared similarities and had things in common. They developed a typical guy friendship, in parentheses, which means they knew nothing about each other. Cassie, Josh, and their children stayed at Watt's house at the end of May 2018 as they were considering moving to Colorado and looking for houses and getting to know the area. The four then went on a trip to San Diego in June 2018 for Thrive. Okay. All right. So you met him in February. Chris, you met him in person in February for the first time. Then you stayed at their house at the end of May for what, a week? A week? So right before she went to North Carolina. And then right before, okay, so in May, then the four went on a trip to San Diego in June for Thrive as well. Gosh, how are they affording all of this? Huh, guess that's why you don't make your house payment, right? Oh, but Thrive, it did not. It did not pay for everything. Christopher Watts was going to a job, and his entire paycheck paid for everything. That's how everything was paid for. Okay? So anyway. So they knew each other for, let's say, consecutively 2 months, 2 weeks, 2 months. Not a very long friendship, and a friendship based on lies nonetheless. Josh described the relationship between Chris and Shanann as cohesive, normal, and stated they both showed affection for one another. Well, now let's get this out of the way here too, because remember, it is stated that they did it 3 times a day. Shanann and Christopher Watts had relations 3 times a day, and they had multiple people staying at their house for long periods of time. How do you fit in doing the horizontal mamba 3 times a day with house guests? This is where the rumors of them being swingers or of being familiar with the upside down pineapple logo comes into play, because people are going, okay, if you say that you guys are doing this all the time. Oh, but then it was also stated they had stopped doing it in March, but then maybe there was a little quickie in May. So when they had the Rosenbergs there, they were not as, sexual. And I guess that's probably why she wore condoms, or he wore condoms, because, one wore condoms. Because you can't be all gooey going around making snacks for your house guests. Good Lord. How did the house guests not hear anything, or did they want them to hear something? That's real gross. That's real weird. I don't know. Maybe I'm too old for that. Just thinking that. Maybe that's what these young people do. Because Josh described their relationship as being cohesive, normal, and stated they both showed affection for one another. Well, what exactly were they doing? Well, I guess we know now, don't we? Any moments of disagreement were normal and insignificant. They had the type of relationship most people want. Well, I think that those are probably words best not spoken, Josh. They were open and honest in their relationship. See, this dude knew nothing about them. Nothing. Here you go. And it says no relationship problems were ever mentioned by Chris to Josh. So there you go, folks. Because this was a very surface friendship. Chris recently started working out more and eating healthier. Chris told Josh that Shanann talked to him about his changed eating habits. Josh assured Chris that Cassie talked to him about that when he changed his diet too. So what? Part of their friendship is like, dude, when I started eating differently, my wife talked to me about it. Okay? And he's like, oh my God, dude. It's okay. When I changed my eating habits, my wife talked to me about it too. And then they beat their hairy chests and went about their way with their sticks. I mean, what? Oh my God. All right, anyway. He thought it was within the last month that Chris started changing his diet. He was eating less carbs and eating. Oh my God. Tell you, these words in here and lack of words, it says he was eating less carbs and eater cleaner. So, how exactly did that come out? I eater cleaner? Eater? I eater cleaner? EATERCLEANER. So Chris started eater cleaner. Oh my God. Josh estimated that maybe around 2018 in May, Chris started working out and running more, running away from SW. He and Chris would trade running times to encourage one another. Okay, was this a bromance? Was this a budding bromance? They'd trade running times to encourage one another? Josh noticed in San Diego in June that Chris was working out harder, and there were changes in Chris's physique from it. Okay, bromance, because what kind of a man says that he noticed that Chris was working out harder and there were changes in Chris's physique from it? I don't think many men say that. This is getting weirder and weirder. Josh did not know about any supplements that Chris took, but he knew that he used Thrive and said, in parentheses, "We all do." Is this some weird Stepford husband shit? Maybe so. Josh does not know about the finances of Chris and Shanann. Josh never asked Chris, and Chris never divulged anything about his finances. Josh thought it felt like they were a normal family on a normal budget. There you go. May I rest my case? Josh and Cassie did not know these people. And that's what's scary, is that you can really think that you know people. And that's why this case is so interesting, because of all of the pictures that were out there, very similar to Casey Anthony. Casey worked for Kodak, taking event pictures at Universal for a time. And then when Kodak Eastman changed their contract or whatever, she did not have that job any longer, but she did not share with anybody that she was not working there. Remember, that's how that happened. But she learned skills, and she was a great photographer by all means, and took all of those incredible pictures of Kaylee. And that's how our minds can bring up Kaylee Marie Anthony in a second, because all of those pictures were sold. Because interviews aren't bought, the pictures are sold. Okay? It's not like Entertainment Tonight is going to say, oh yeah, we paid them this much. No, they paid for the exclusive rights to the pictures or the video or the cell phone picture or the cell phone message. Okay, that's how that's done. Okay? So, Casey took good pictures. Shanann took good pictures. Shanann was also creating an image. Now, all of those images were there, and they were for public use, so as soon as the story broke, like any of us YouTube creators now, the second somebody's name is put out there that they're missing or they're suspected in something, we all just go right to their page, and we go and we nab every single thing that we can while it's still public. Okay? That's what news media channels have done forever. So, it's just a lot easier now to do it, and you can do it fast. So, people started doing that right away when she was missing. They went to, and you put in her name and everything would come up. So, news channels all over were grabbing this. They're going, oh my gosh, it's this beautiful woman with these two beautiful children that are missing, and we've got to find them because, oh, the mom's pregnant and ill, we've got to find her fast. Everybody wanted to help, and law enforcement and the family, Mama Roo asked for that help, okay? So, All of those images were out there. And they're images, and that's it. As time went on, and some of those images were locked down, the ruse provided those images for a fee, allegedly. Okay? And so magazines have those images, and that got to everybody. So everybody could see these kids and this woman that looked like they needed help, and they fell in love with the image, and they fell in love with these people, and they believe what they are told, because most people do believe what they're told. And so now you have that cohort of people who did not look further, did not go and find out the facts and the truth about how that image was created and why it was portrayed. And those people are out there fighting as hard for the lies as we are for the truth, because they don't want to believe that they were not told the truth, that they were led astray, that they were lied to, that they fell in love with the image that isn't real. They don't want to believe that that fairy tale they were told isn't true. And a lot of them, you simply just can't tell them it's not true because they won't believe you. They believe what they want to believe based on their first impression. They're not able to think further. And they haven't watched Neek's Peaks, for goodness sakes. But anyway, that's what Cassie and Josh did. They saw the whole image. They went to their house, saw this beautiful home, spick and span clean. And Shanann, with her nails all perfect and everything, doesn't ever look worn down or anything, doesn't look tired, doesn't look like anything's out of place. She looks like the perfect wife and the perfect mother. And nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing. And especially when you go to this, when it says Josh did not know about the finances of Chris and Shanann. Josh never asked Chris, and Chris never divulged anything about his finances. Josh thought it felt like they were a normal family on a normal budget. So Josh and Cassie did not know that they had just claimed bankruptcy, that they were going to lose that house, that they were not paying the house payment or the HOA, that while they were staying there, they couldn't go down to that neighborhood pool because the Watts access was denied. And it goes on to say, I asked what Josh knew about Chris's job. Chris worked in the oil field. He monitored and inspected systems pertaining to the oil fields. He believed Chris worked out in the field and did not get the impression that he was in an office. Chris had a work truck that he drove from location to location. Chris did not mention having friends at work. Josh last talked to Chris by phone on 8/13/2018. Chris called Josh and told him that he did not know what to do about Shanann and the kids being missing. He told Josh he was lost. Josh encouraged that all anyone could do was make calls and try to figure out what happened. Chris said he felt uneasy. Josh told Chris, "You know how this looks," alluding to the belief that something had gone wrong involving them. Chris acknowledged that and told Josh that he did not know what to do. He said he felt like everyone was mad at him and he did not know who to call. Chris said he did not know how anyone could think he could do it. Josh told Chris that he needed to do everything he could. This phone call from Chris felt different to Josh than a call from the Chris he knew. Josh felt it was like Chris was looking for information, which was not like him. It did not feel like Chris and did not seem like Chris wanted Josh to do anything for him. but more like Chris was trying to find out how Cassie and the friends of Shanann felt. Chris did not seem genuine to Josh. Chris told Josh that he just talked to Nicole Atkinson and said that Shanann had gone to a friend's house. He said that he saw Nicole on the doorbell camera at his house. Josh texted Chris on 8/14/18 to ask for updates. Chris replied that the police were getting the missing person report ready. Josh knew from Cassie and Shanann that there were changes in Chris over the 4 to 5 weeks prior to Shanann's Arizona trip. Hold on. Josh knew from Cassie and Shanann that there were changes in Chris over the 4 to 5 weeks prior to Shanann's Arizona trip. Okay. There was discussion about divorcing or separating. When Chris was in North Carolina with Shanann and the kids, Shanann said he was cold, inattentive, and did not show love. It was not the Chris they knew. Okay. So Josh and Cassie knew that they were talking about divorcing or separating too. Add another one to the pile. They don't know anything about them, but they know that. But they're going to be on all these interviews talking about how they were the most wonderful, loving couple and all of that. But yet they don't know about their finances. They don't know about anything. And the first time that Chris and Josh met was in February, 6 months prior to this, and had met a handful of times. And all of the meetings were surrounded around the MLM, culture, and getaway. I don't think I've ever heard of any parents going on more trips and getaways than I have the Watts in the year prior to the unthinkable. Can you guys hear that little... That's my kisses snoring down there. Hold on. I was going to put the microphone down there, but then it started over. But she's real cute. My kisses is about, I think she's about 12. And she snores when she sleeps now. Not bad, just a little snore. Just a cute little snore. It's Josh. I asked about Josh knowing of... There we go. And it's missing another word here. And it's missing a word. Blah, blah, blah. Because it goes like this. I asked about Josh knowing of discussion about separation, divorce between Chris and Shanann. That's it. That's literally how that reads. I asked about Josh knowing of discussion about separation, divorce between Chris and Shanann. He said that Cassie often FaceTimed him while at the conference, and he often saw a group of girls and chatted with them. What? So Cassie FaceTimes and then Josh is like, let me chat with some girls. What? On Saturday night, 8/11/2018, Shanann learned of a charge that she was concerned about, given that Chris was supposedly at a Rockies game with friends from work. Not this again. Literally not this again. Please no, not this again. Yes, it's this again. So everybody in the freaking world knows. Are we ready? Here we go. That Chris was supposedly at a Rockies game with friends from work. Shanann was visibly upset and crying when discussing this in Arizona. Shanann said she did not understand what changed. She said that she loved Chris and did not know why he did not love her. Shanann said that Chris wanted to separate and move on, saying he could not do this anymore. The group, to include Josh, talked to Shanann about her strength and assured her it would not be the end, as she had the kids and a baby on the way. Oh, I'm sure that's what she wanted to hear. Oh, God. I'm sure she was like, no, I don't want to hear that. Don't tell me that. That's not what I want to hear. All right, let's see here. I mean, honestly, that's not what she wants to hear. She wants to hear about how they can put another sticker on Christopher and make him behave, because the other Christopher that she went to try and make things work with didn't work out. So the one she's married to needs to continue to be her bitch. Expressed that she wanted to be strong for her kids and show them that you can get through life, and was positive about it. Shanann wanted to at least try counseling for her kids' sake, even if it did not work between her and Chris. Funny how that didn't happen. Because she was not one for counseling. She wouldn't have, the counselor would have said the same thing that he said with her first husband, that she's the frickin' problem with all of her lies and deceit. Josh and Chris had texted about the new baby. Chris seemed excited through text. Oh. So now texts have emotion in 2018. All right. Josh said that he immediately knew something had gone wrong with Shanann and the girls due to the state of the house and his knowledge of Shanann. He knew there was zero chance that Shanann would have left the house like it was, and without her phone and medication for the kids. Josh was aware of an argument in North Carolina that Shanann had with Chris's parents about a kid allergy. He is certain she would have never left the house without those meds. He said those kids were Shanann's everything, and she would have never done anything to jeopardize her kids. Again, Joshua, you do not know these people. I asked Josh if he's seen anything about Chris's statement to law enforcement. Josh heard that Chris claimed Shanann killed the kids. Josh told me that the Chris he knew would not have done any of this to begin with. The eyes Josh sees on Chris on TV are not the same. They lack sincerity and soul. Josh thinks someone gave this scenario to Chris as his only shot to possibly avoid a death penalty. Josh suggested Chris is trying to figure out this lie he has created. I agree. And it's all in the frickin' lies. I mean, all in the lies. All in the lies. All in the eyes. The eyes and the lies. It's all in the eyes and the lies. I mean, look at Kohberger's eyes. Freakiest things you've ever seen. Except for Adam... Was it Adam Lanza? I mean, his eyes are worse. And if you look at certain people that are accused of the unthinkable as they're being booked, they look up and their eyes, they've got too much of the white showing, like the white above their pupil is showing, and their pupils are fixed and dilated, and it's just creepy. It's all in the eyes and the eyebrows. Apparently eyebrows are now a big thing too. They identified Kohberger apparently by his bushy eyebrows. I guess they are bushy. Anyway. I mean, and I agree with what Josh is saying this too, that, somebody fed him something that he's like trying to say, because it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't seem right. So then it says, Josh said there is no possible scenario for Chris's statement to be accurate. Even if he had told Shanann he wanted a divorce and was cheating on her, Chris insisted that Shanann would have never done anything to her kids. She would choose her kids over Chris 100 times out of 100 if she would have had to. And this is another thing that doesn't make sense. If she would have had to. Okay. Chris thinks Josh is saying this in an effort to figure out how to cope with what he did. Okay, well, that's rather insightful. I asked Josh if there was any indication that Chris may have been cheating on Shanann. Josh said that he does not believe that Chris would have had an affair on Shanann. Okay, there you go. Josh does not believe that Chris would have cheated on Shanann. Josh does not know anything about their finances. Can we repeat? Josh and Cassie do not know this couple. You need to watch Sneak Peeks. He believes anyone can change their mind on things at any point, and such is simply human nature. He thinks that Chris possibly changed his mind and decided against a relationship with Shanann, but would have told Shanann before seeking out another woman. Josh still feels this way about Chris. Mm-hmm. Josh told me that he feels like there are two Chris's, the Chris he knew and the Chris he now sees in the media. Oh, I think so. I asked Josh if he thinks there's anyone else that could have done this. There was no one else that could have done this in Josh's opinion, and Josh shared a scenario which he thinks could have happened. Okay, here we are. We've got Josh here, and he's pontificating. So, y'all ready? Here it goes. This is what Josh thinks could have happened. Shanann came home. Shanann and Chris talked. Chris told her he was done. Shanann got emotional and cried. Chris tried to leave. Shanann tried to stop him. An accident happened, then spiraled out of control. There was a commotion that woke the kids. Chris was someone else at this point. Chris had to eliminate the kids as they are witnesses. That's a good theory. I'm not going to say it's not. Josh said that this is the only logical scenario, as there was no possible way Shanann could have laid a hand on the kids. Shanann lived and worked to make her family's life better as a whole. No. Shanann had said that if he wants to leave, that was fine. She did not want to give up and would try counseling. It was just not logical for Josh to believe that Shanann could have done anything to hurt her children, as Chris stated. I asked Josh if he had considered that Chris planned anything like this. Josh said that Chris is a very smart guy, and if he had planned it out, he would not have gotten caught. I asked if it was possible that Chris had not considered Shanann's friends would have been actively looking for her Monday morning. Josh felt like Chris would have planned for that had he considered, thought, or planned for more than 2 hours before he did it. Josh feels Chris did not plan it, and that it was in the heat of the moment. Chris knew his truck had GPS on it, and he told Josh about it, and he did not use it for personal things. Chris knew that Shanann was attached to her phone and that she is the type who responds immediately to texts. I will agree with what was just stated there. I asked about Josh's knowledge of Chris's mental health. Josh had no concerns. He did not know Chris to see counselors or take medications for mental health matters. Josh described Chris as pretty calm and level-headed. He was not the type to get angry or upset. He was frustrated by normal things such as the gym being too crowded, as it was in San Diego. It was nothing out of the ordinary to Josh. I asked about the trip to Colorado in May, in which Josh and his family stayed with the Watts. They arrived on a Monday morning, and Chris was already at work. They hung out with Shanann and the kids. Chris got home maybe around 1,500 to 1,600 hours. That's 3 to 4, civilian terms. He parked along the street, and the truck stayed there. His work truck is a pickup, maroon or brown in color. There was stuff in the back. Chris never parked the truck in the driveway when Josh was there. Josh did not see Chris come home from or go to the truck for work over the weekend. Josh was inside each time. Okay, so it sounds like they arrived on a Monday and stayed a week, so like maybe through that weekend. I asked about Shanann's mental health. Josh described her as being a normal woman emotionally. Once again, he doesn't know her. She was loving, open, good, kind, transparent, a giver, a great host, passionate, even keel, ordinary, loved to make people happy, would not get mad, tried to work problems out, not over-exaggerated, no drama. Josh thought Shanann took medication for lupus and fibromyalgia. Oh, sir. Josh knew that Shanann had been in a bad relationship with an ex-husband in the past. Things stuck with her and shaped her into being the loving person she was. Oh my God. And I'm not saying she wasn't all of those things. She may very well have been all of those things and more. And the more is the problem. But Josh wanted to reiterate that those close to Chris and Shanann, as he and Cassie were, and know who Chris and Shanann were, know that Shanann would not have left her things at the house the way that it was, or ever put a hand on her kids, even in her worst moment. Um, dude, you, dude, does this fuck? Could he see Bella's hair, for example? Did he not know about the baby wise stuff and locking? What about all those locks on the girls' rooms and the lack of water in the bathroom in between? What about the rectal temperature? What about the pinching? What about? Come on, dude. What about the medications at night? Are you kidding me? This dude must be smoking some of that green stuff in Colorado. It's very nice that he says nice things, but they're just not true. I wonder if he's found out the truth by now. I wonder if he wanted to find out the truth. And there is no information, no factual data, no rumors, even anything to suggest that Leonard King was a problematic husband. In fact, quite the opposite, it sounds. And so, for it to be this legend that she had a bad relationship with an ex husband that shaped her into being the loving person she was is very, very. Dude, did you hear about the alleged embezzling? Hmm? Ask her father how he knows his daughter has strong legs. Uh huh. Is it normal for a father and a mother to spend that much time with their adult daughter once she's had kids? I don't think so. I'm telling you. This tea is coming out as fast as I am sipping it in this one. I can't keep my mouth shut. I think this is just BS because it's like so much credence has been given to Josh and Cassie because they are an attractive couple, and so they're photogenic and they're in these interviews and they're seen as these close friends to Shanann and Chris. And the truth is that they didn't know who they really were. Like I say, that's just really scary. It just shows that you don't know who people are. You don't know what their motives are. Um, I mean, and then he says, she was kind, loving, open, and even going through the pain of starting over without Chris, she was still focused on being a better example for her kids. Are you kidding? Oh my God. He does not know how anyone could see otherwise. Well, how about reading the text and how she didn't even want the baby inside of her and hadn't pooped in 3 weeks, wasn't aware of the baby inside of her, and every other thing, and oh my gosh, sir. Josh believes that Chris killed the kids too. He thinks something went wrong and Spyro were out of control, and he was just now lying because he could not deal with what he did. Cassie came to the phone to provide that she and Josh are moving to Colorado next week and provided their new address of redacted in Westminster, Colorado 831. Oh shit. Sorry. Cassie also wanted to make sure investigators knew that there was an Amazon Alexa in the Watts' house that may have recorded something to aid in the investigation. Oh, really? Another Scooby-Doo investigator like Chris wouldn't have thought of that, and Chris didn't know that? I mean, what? She's like, I've got a clue. Let me on that phone. I assured her that was known. Here he goes. I assured her that was known and thanked her and encouraged her to reach out with other thoughts or information that comes to her. Because he's like, do you think that we didn't go to cop school, ma'am? Anyway, you're talking to the CBI and you tell them something like that. Mm-mm. And then it says the interview is concluded at 10:00 hours, so 10 a.m., and Josh forwarded screenshots of his text with Chris for this investigation. Review of the text between Josh Rosenberg and Chris Watts. And they are stated here, thankfully, so I don't have to sit there and decipher. But I'd do anything for you guys. All 835 of you? Have you seen there's 835 of you? Huh? Look to the person to the right. Look to the person to the left. Say peace be with you. Thank each other that we're all here. And we're fighting for the truth because we know that there is more to this story. And that what happened to Christopher Watts could happen to any one of us and any one of our loved ones. And that the truth and the facts are just not known. And it doesn't help anybody that there are channels out there who are actively spinning a narrative that is lies, false lies. And they have people believing these new fallacies. These lizards without legs, these lizards that are growing legs, rumors that are growing legs, you know what I mean? So anyway, the texts go 29 at 15:42 hours Arizona time, so that's 3:42 in the afternoon due to us civilians. Josh texts Chris that an application was it. What? That an application was it. He then congratulated Chris for something. Chris replied, "Thanks, man." He said that he has to make sure he does not do too much and lift anything. They then discuss the application process and how long it takes. Josh texts Chris that an application was it. Okay, so he says, so Josh texts Chris. The application was it. He then congratulates Chris for something. Congratulations about an application. Chris replied, "Thanks, man." He said he then has to make sure she does not do too much and lift anything. They then discuss the application process and how long it takes. Something to do with the house that they're looking at, maybe an application was in, and then he's congratulating him that Shanann's pregnant, and then he says, make sure she doesn't do too much and lift anything. Wishes Josh a happy Father's Day, and Josh replies the same on 6/17 at 07:23 hours Arizona time. So 7:23 in the morning, this little bromance is like, happy Father's Day. Hello, happy Father's Day to you too. (6:23) and 6:22 and 6:23. It appears that Josh and Chris are in a hotel with Shanann and Cassie and are chatting about planning and getting food. Okay. At 7:50 hours, Chris said that Shanann will divorce him if he gets food without her, and that he would end up like the homeless guy yelling at himself on the street. They chat about the weather and the heat. They joke about Josh applying for a job. Okay. Josh asked Chris, on 7/6. On 7/6 at 06:48 hours, so 6:48 in the morning, Josh asked Chris how the bachelor life was. So on July 6th at 6:48 in the morning, Josh asked Chris how the bachelor life was. Chris replied in 1 minute that he was working out a lot, picking up weekend shifts. He said it was going by fast so far. And then that text was pictured of that. And then it says on 7/6 at 6:50 hours, Josh asks if it feels weird being alone being in the house alone, and Chris replies at 7:16 that he was trying to eat a little cleaner with no kids around. He said, "It's a little weird, but I've been keeping busy." Okay. Now, what is this? Like a speedometer, but maybe this is supposed to be an ultrasound, because then it says here on 8/8 at 7:52 hours, Josh asked Chris if he was excited about the ultrasound. And at 9:12 hours, Chris replied that today was the day at 7 p.m. and that he was excited. Chris said he was secretly hoping it's a boy. Chris replied, "LOL, yeah, me too." I think that it was supposed to say Josh, but it said Chris. That Josh is also hoping it's a boy, and Chris is like, "Yeah, me too." You know what? Just be happy if you have. Be happy. Be happy if it's a healthy baby. I mean, and you know what? If it's not a healthy baby, you live in an amazing time where so many things are possible. But to sit there and just like act like, "Oh, I want this, like, ugh, that bothers me." And again, they spelled his name wrong. It's CHIRS. So the ultrasound was supposed to be at 7 p.m. on 8/8. Writing that down. And then on 8/8 at 11:44 hours, Chris texted about eating cleaner and Shanann giving him the third degree for refusing to eat a few things. He said he can see his abs again and is working hard to get cut. He said that combining Thrive and eating lean meats is making a big difference. Chris texted that he had to come to realize that abs are made in the kitchen. Oh my God. And again, he's talking about his body and his abs to another man. I don't think that's normal. Very weird. And then it just shows a picture of that, but thankfully it's all typed out, so we can figure this one out. And then on 8/8 so it'd be 8:02 in the evening, Josh texts about waiting patiently. Chris tells him that the envelope is sealed until next weekend. Josh asks if they are going to do a reveal, and Chris replies, "Yes, sir." Okay, so this is confirmation that Chris went to the ultrasound, which is what I had been waiting for to say. And like I say, I was mistaken. She did have an ultrasound, looks like there, on that 8/8 at 7 p.m. And the results of the sex were placed in an envelope that NA was going to tell them at the gender reveal, but then Shanann asked because she wanted good news. And of course, the news was that it was a boy, because that was the only thing that would keep her and Chris together at that point, as we know. But it was not done in a doctor's office because she did not show up for that doctor's appointment. So here's the confirmation. And like I say, I think it was Bumblebee who said that it was done a couple of days before that. So it was done on 8/8, and then the tragedy happened on the 13th. So I wonder if they went and reviewed that ultrasound to see if the baby was doing well, because that would be really important, I would think. Isn't it weird how it wasn't about if the baby is okay and doing the things prenatally, and when she supposedly wasn't feeling good and wouldn't go to the doctor because she was out of network and everything? Isn't it weird how they weren't concerned about, is the baby doing all right? Is the baby okay, even though Shanann had not been able to crap in weeks? I mean, it's just the focus of the baby and the focus of the kids is never there in this whole thing, and it's so sad. But this looks like it is confirming that, so I was wrong. I'm sorry. And then it says on 8/10 at 6:51 hours, Josh texted to congratulate Chris. "Congrats, buddy. Little man is a lucky boy." Chris replied, "Thanks, man." So on 8:10, because this is weird because they weren't going to tell their family. Because remember when Shanann said that they weren't going to tell the family until Monday when she returned, but they still let the little MLM friends know. So then, yeah, NA would have told Mama Roo. So that's how. So, but I mean, for all this talk before and everything about it being a boy, they didn't know for sure until 8/8. And I still don't. I don't know how they are sure of it, but I say umbilical cords look a lot like weens, and that's why they don't until they're very, very sure with the turtle sign. But on 8/11 at 21:04 hours Arizona time. So 9:04 our time, Josh texts Chris asking if he is still awake. Chris immediately replies that he is headed home from a Rockies game. Josh asks him to let him know when he is not driving because he has a question. Okay. So on 8/12 at 7:09 or 7:09 in the morning, Chris replied, "What's up, bro? Sorry, I passed out once I got home." Josh replied to ask to make sure Chris was okay with his family being at his house if need be. Chris replied that it was cool. Chris asked when Josh thought his family would be moving to Colorado for a job. Josh took at True Value. Josh estimated 1 month. Chris texted that the Rockies game was crazy and gave some scoring info. Josh said he saw it on ESPN and had only been to 2 moments like that. Chris replied, "It was epic." So now we're at 8:13 the day at 11:16 hours Arizona time, and Josh texted to ask Chris if he had heard from Shanann today because Cassie and Nikki could not get a hold of her. Chris replied that he had just talked to Nikki. Chris texted that Shanann went to a friend's house with the kids and he had not heard from her since, but would keep him updated. Then on 8:14 at 05:59, so almost 6 o'clock in the morning, Josh texted for any work and asked how Chris was doing. Probably for any word, but they put work. Chris replied that there was no word at all. The cops were getting the missing person report ready. Chris said he was at home sick to his stomach. I'd never heard that Chris said that he was sick to his stomach. That's interesting. And then it shows that there were 23 screenshots of text communication between Josh Rosenberg and Chris Watts. And then we are to where it's Charlotte Nelson interview, and that's a friend of Nicole Kessinger. And it's on 9/6 of 2018, and it's from 3:31 to 3:59, so almost 1/2 an hour. And it is performed by Agent Stacey Galbraith and approved on 9/7/2018 by, of course, none other than Kirby Quinn Lewis, agent in charge of the CBI Denver. Agent Galbraith spoke with Charlotte Nelson by phone on 9/6/2018, and it says that Nelson is a friend of Nicole Kessinger, and the two exchanged text messages about the relationship between Kessinger and Chris Watts. And it says it's an unknown friend of Nikki Kess. And the synopsis says, on 9/5/2018, I was asked to assist by speaking with Charlotte Nelson. Nelson is a friend of Nicole Kessinger, and the two exchanged text messages about the relationship between Kessinger and Chris Watts. I was provided a packet of text messages involving 7:20, and then redacted, which I was advised that was of Shanann Watts. Was that of Shanann Watts? Which I was advised was that of Shanann Watts. Okay. Agent Galbraith, subsequently reviewed the content. The records are somewhat confusing as some of the correspondence is clearly with the 720 redacted, but other times it's with the 900, 9000, 8000, 4101. However, the content appears to indicate the person is the same as the one communicating from 720 redacted. Based with the conversation flow, 720 redacted is the number of Charlotte Nelson. This is weird because this is about Nicole Kessinger and Chris Watts. It is not about Shanann, so I don't know why it says her name in it. I guess maybe we'll see here. Texting is on 8/12/2018, and it says I'm not certain of the time zone which the records are formatted. Some of the content is undecipherable. Based upon the numbers, it is difficult to say for sure if the texts are from Nikki or Charlotte, but the content lends to context and the author. So Nikki, on 8/12/2018 at 10:51 hours, been kind of hanging out with the guy recently, keeping it a secret. Dude loves to eat pussy. Never met a man who does till now. Just let it happen. LOL. Oh my God. So Charlotte says, where did you meet this man? Nikki says, I don't know, man. Sean never ate me out one time. So Sean never went down on her one time. And Chris won't let up. No wonder Shanann liked him. And then Charlotte says, I don't think it's you, man. Some guys are lame with that stuff. And Nikki says, feel like dude I met has kids. And if they don't, okay, wait. Feel like every dude I meet has kids these days. And if they don't, they have commitment issues or some bullshit like Sean. Charlotte says, what's the dude's name? Kids are cute. Meng. It's a package deal, though. Charlotte says, that's awesome, Meng. That's awesome, Meng. I don't know what Meng means. Nikki says, the fact he takes care of his kids is a good I think. Nikki says, he's all about his kids. Charlotte says, that's cool. How old are they? And then nothing is stated. And then Charlotte says, how old is he? She says, 33, I think. Nikki says, I just feel like I will always be second place, like he's been there, done that. It's early, though. We'll see. He's very kind to me, though. And he works out, so he's super sexy. Don't tell nobody. I haven't made my mind up on him yet. Like, he seems too good to be true. And haha, it's been the best sex I've ever had. I'm hooked. I really think he likes me. On 9/6/2018, at about 15:59 hours, so that would be at 3:59 hours on 9/6, so it would be almost 4, I received a call from Charlotte Nelson, date of birth redacted. I had left Nelson a message on 9/5/2018 and texted her on 9/6/2018 prior to her call to me. Nelson met Kessinger in high school. They were not as close then as they are now. Nelson moved to Aruba and moved back around 2006, and she and Kessinger got in contact. Kessinger is Nelson's best friend. They text a lot, but they do not see each other maybe once every month or two. Nelson knew why I'd be contacting her. I asked how this case is sitting with her. She told me it is a horrible situation and it's very upsetting. She is worried about Kessinger. Nelson said that Kessinger got caught up with the wrong person at the wrong time, and it's just devastating. I asked if Nelson knew that Kessinger had been dating Chris Watts. Nelson explained that Kessinger was working as a contractor for Anadarko. Kessinger had told Nelson that she was seeing a guy at work at some point. Kessinger did not say who, and Nelson never met him. Nelson saw news about this case and heard that the guy worked at Anadarko, and Nelson wondered if Kessinger knew the guy. Kessinger then called Nelson and let her know that the media may try to get in contact with her about the case. Nelson said that Kessinger said she could not discuss much about the case with her. Nelson told me that her father died a couple of weeks ago and that she'd been drinking a lot to deal with the things right now. Nelson said that she looked back and Kessinger had sent her a photo of Kessinger and the guy she was seeing. Nelson agreed to go back through her text messages and screenshot the communication she has with Kessinger. Kessinger had told Nelson that the guy she was seeing had a couple kids. Nelson knew Kessinger to like kids, and she seemed in favor of it. Kessinger said he was a really nice guy, and she did not seem to mind that he had kids. Nelson said that she did not say much, as she tends to let people live their lives. Nelson did not think it was smart of Kessinger to date someone she worked with, since she liked her job there, but Nelson didn't tell Kessinger that. I asked if Kessinger spoke of the guy's marital status to Nelson. Kessinger did not at the time, but Kessinger has since told Nelson that the guy had told Kessinger that he was separated from his wife. Kessinger did not provide Nelson details of the relationship as to where they spent their time, when they spent time, how they spent their time, or if they were intimate. I kind of think the eating out thing is about their intimate things and where they were going out to eat. They were eating at the Y. Always has a hot dish of tuna casserole. What? She said that she did not know and did not ask. Nelson said Kessinger just got out of a relationship and Nelson just lets her tell her what she wants to share. Nelson described Kessinger as private. I told Nelson that I had some content from text messages between her and Kessinger. I read the one about it being the best sex Kessinger has ever had and the one about oral sex. Nelson reminded me that her dad died and that she'd been drinking heavily. She told me that she actually barely remembers the text with Kessinger. Nelson told me that Kessinger dates a lot, and in the past, she's not had the best of luck with the men she's dated, so Nelson typically does not ask about details. I read the following text to Nelson. Nikki, 8/12/2018, 11:17 hours, which is 11:17 in the morning. So this is the day before. And Kessinger writes to her, feel like every dude I meet has kids these days, and if they don't they have commitment issues or some bullshit like Sean. I asked Nelson for some context of that text, as it seemed that a man with kids may be a negative thing based upon the words in the text alone. Nelson said that she does not think that Kessinger was against him having kids, and Kessinger wants kids too. She has just had bad luck with men in her past. Kessinger wants to find someone, and when she does, it turns out the guy is lying or something. Kessinger seems to take it upon herself and feel that she is picking the wrong guys. Nelson encourages Kessinger that she will find someone. Nelson does not think that the BS part in the text was meant as negative, and that Kessinger felt the guy having meant as a negative in that Kessinger felt the guy having kids was negative. Okay, I'm going to read that again because that's weird. Nelson does not think that the bullshit part in the text was meant as a negative in that Kessinger felt the guy having kids was a negative. I don't know. Nelson did not think that Kessinger actually met the guy's kids. She had no idea when or where Kessinger and the guy hung out together. Nelson figured that if it was working out, she'd hear more about the guy from Kessinger. Kessinger did not tell Nelson about the guy's wife in their texts. I asked how Kessinger is doing. Nelson told me that she's a mess and says that she cannot say much about the case. Nelson thinks Kessinger feels partially responsible, as maybe he went crazy because Kessinger came into the picture. Kessinger liked the guy. Nelson thinks Kessinger needs a good therapist. I asked if there's any indication that Kessinger may want to maintain a relationship with the guy. Nelson said that Kessinger wants to cooperate in the fullest to make sure he stays in jail. I thanked Nelson for her time, and she agreed to send me screenshots of her texts with Kessinger. Nelson promptly got back with me on 9/6/2018 to provide. Hi, Agent Galbraith. This is Charlotte Nelson. I'm looking through my phone. Messages I have from Nikki start on August 21st, and we mostly talked about my dad's passing away and my family issues, and also that she is concerned with the media. I probably deleted the whole conversation when Nikki asked me to. Delete pictures as we have together on Facebook because the media was calling her friends to get information. I know about the text messages we talked about because yesterday evening I got your voicemail, and when Nikki came over later that night, I told her you had called and that I wanted to verify that it was actually the CBI calling me and not a scammer trying to get information. I asked her why you would be calling me, and she said it could be because of the texts we exchanged, and then she showed me. I'm sorry I don't have any messages before that. Would you like me to still send you everything starting August 21st? Also, I left you a voicemail regarding a question I have. My question is if the text messages you have are going to be made public matter. I shared very personal information about mine and my boyfriend's intimate life, and I'm concerned about what will be released. Please let me know or call me for any more questions. I responded, stand by on texts from the 21st. Let me consult my partner. Thank you for getting back on the matter. On 9/7/2018, I attempted to clarify this with Nelson. In parentheses, I asked her why you would be calling me, and she said it could be because of the texts we exchanged, and then she showed me. I texted Nelson and called her. The phone went straight to voicemail like it was off. On 9/7/2018, Nelson responded. She showed me the old messages on her phone the night before last, 9/5/2018, when she was here at my house. We had went to Verizon earlier that same day so she could get a new phone since the one she had was not working well. It must be that the messages were backed up and transferred over to the new phone. FPD Detective Baumhover is in possession of the phone of Kessinger, and potentially the texts will exist in it upon execution of a search warrant. The attachments are the text message packet provided for review. And And then we are here to the CBI Investigative Supplement, which is crime scene photographs, and it is reported by Agent Matthew Saylor, approved on 8/27 by none other than Agent in Charge at the Denver office, Kirby Quinn Lewis. And the synopsis says that his crime scene photographs are attached, and there is no narrative for this report. Now, I'm going to scroll down. I've not peeked. I don't know what's there. If you are looking and you are sensitive to content, let's have you look away until I tell you what's there, or if it has been redacted out of this, because I don't know. Oh, nothing showed. So you're fine. And then it says that there's another investigative supplement, which is completed a law enforcement support packet for Nicole Kessinger. And Jillian Ganley out of the Denver CBI office did that on 8/15. It was approved by Kirby Quinn Lewis, so they completed a law enforcement support packet for Nicole Kessinger in Northglenn. And it says that Nicole is 30, white female. Occupation was quality control and safety. I mean, and for her being a 30-year-old woman, that would be, well, I guess even if you're 50 or 70, that would be a whole lot of stuff to take in. It really would. You know, sometimes we forget about how young these people were in all of this. The synopsis then is that this person created a law enforcement support packet for Christopher Watts' girlfriend, Nicole Kessinger. The action taken was on 8/15/2018, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI investigative analyst Jillian Ganley created a law enforcement support packet for Nicole Kessinger. Kessinger is the girlfriend of Chris Watts. The support packet was created so CBI agents, Frederick PD detectives, and FBI agents could locate and attempt to interview her. I researched criminal and public data sources to determine current address of subject, current contact information, employment history, and criminal history. I completed searches in CCIC, NCIC, TLO, Clear, Lumen, ZText, Colorado Courts, Facebook, and Instagram. The information found was forwarded to Agent in Charge Kirby Lewis, FBI Analyst Liz Dawson, and CBI Agent Kevin Kobach, and was further disseminated from there. End of report. Alright, finished up that cup of tea too. And then it says there's an attachment of the law enforcement support packet, the LPR search for Kessinger's vehicle, Kessinger's phone records received from Verizon Wireless on an exigency request. And it states all of the attachments that are zipped in that file. We have a memorandum, and it's a file note from Kay Holscher, and it's a CBI Supplement 38, 9/21/18. Per Kirby Lewis, CBI Supplemental 38 is not completed at this time, as it contains a timeline of events and additional investigation is ongoing. Phone interview of Mark Jameson by Agent Matthew Saylor. He is a 34-year-old white male. And let's see what we got about this dude. Interview of Mark Jameson on 8/23/18 at approximately 11:34 hours. Colorado Bureau of Investigation Agent Matthew Saylor interviewed Mark Jameson, friend of Chris Watts, over the telephone. The interview was audio recorded, and a copy of the recording is attached to this report. The following is a synopsis of the interview. For additional details, refer to the audio recording. Jameson is in the Navy and currently stationed in California. Jameson stated that he has been best friends with Chris for about 25 years. Jameson said that he has met Chris's wife, Shanann Watts, on several occasions, as well as their daughters, Bella Watts and Celeste Watts. Jameson said that he and Chris stayed in contact via phone calls and text messages. Jameson said that he grew up with Chris in North Carolina. He said the last time he spoke with Chris was on the Tuesday before Chris's confession on 8/14/2018 via text message. Jameson said that he sent Chris a text saying he hoped everyone was okay and that he knew Chris was busy and to reach out to him if he needed anything. Jameson said that Chris responded saying thanks and that he had been very busy. Jameson said prior to that, he had a text message conversation approximately a week and a half before Shanann and the girls went missing, and he told Chris to reach out to him and talk to him. Jameson said that Chris texted back that he never called and they never saw each other. But he never called and they never saw each other. Jameson said that he knew Chris was busy and he had a lot going on with the family, such as Shanann and Chris's mom fighting again. Jameson said that Chris's mom, Cindy, called him about it and that he was upset with Chris for letting it go on. Jameson said that he told Chris that it had to stop, the fighting between Shanann and Cindy. Jameson said that Chris replied that he understood and told Jameson that he and Shanann were going to separate and get a divorce. Jameson told Chris that he was there if he needed to talk and told him to reach out to him some more, but Chris never did. There is yet one more person who knew about the impending separation. And I do remember Cindy reaching out to Chris's best friend to say, hey, can you talk to him and get him to stop being so pussy-whipped? Anyway, Jameson said that Shanann and Cindy were fighting over Celeste eating ice cream that Celeste was allergic to. And see, look at how this game of telephone goes. Cece didn't eat any of it. It was like in another child's hand. Like there were like these little couplets or whatever of pistachio, which I didn't know they made pistachio in individual things. Pistachio ice cream is amazing, but it's hard to find. So I didn't know that they had it in individual things. Or did that just mean that Cindy had dished out them? And I can totally imagine a person hearing that, oh, Cece's allergic to peanuts, and not thinking anything of pistachios and pistachio ice cream. I can totally see that not crossing over. And I mean, a lot of people are like allergic to one, and I get all confused. And like y'all know, I'm allergic to walnuts and pecans. And I don't know, it just depends on how my histamine overload is, because sometimes I can react with peanuts and stuff, but it's more stomach troubles than anything. But the walnuts will make my whole mouth bleed and everything else. But anyway, especially somebody who's not ever, who's not been around kids with allergies or had that whole allergy thing. If they hear peanuts, can't have any peanuts, it just seems like such an innocent mistake that was turned into something so nefarious that led to, this horrible thing. But you know what? Now that we know, thanks to Dave going and visiting, that there was a fight earlier, and it was over Cindy telling Shanann to stop dragging the girls in for naps when they're in the middle of playing with their cousins and having fun. Stop with a ridiculous routine. So basically, Cindy had stood up to Shanann, and that's what this is all about. This has nothing really to do with ice cream or anything else. It has to do with this woman's entitlement issues, and I'm gonna keep going here. I'm not gonna watch out. Okay? Jameson said that Cindy kicked Shanann out of the house. No, she called her daddy and said, "Help, get me out of here." Jameson said shortly after this, Cindy called him crying, worried that she had lost Chris because Shanann would turn Chris against her, as had happened in the past. Jameson said that's what prompted him to reach out to Chris with the text message. Jameson said that when Shanann and Chris were engaged, there was a huge fight between Shanann and Cindy, and everyone in Chris's family felt that Shanann was turning Chris against them. Jameson said that initially Chris was taking Shanann's side, but after a while, Shanann and Chris's family made amends and patched up their relationship. Jameson said that when this recent fight occurred, it was like they were going back to square one. Jameson said that Chris was initially taking Shanann's side with the most current fight, but that Cindy then contacted him and told him that Chris and Shanann were going to separate. Chris then told Jameson in text messages that he had seen the true side of Shanann and was done with her and didn't want to be with her anymore. Jameson said that he told Chris that he knew this would be a big event in his life and to reach out to him. Chris told him that he would, but never did. When asked what Chris meant about seeing the true side of Shanann, Jameson said that he didn't ask. Jameson said that Chris's family has always seen Shanann as shady. Jameson said that he never saw it, but all of Chris's family believed that there was something about Shanann that was bad, and he believed Chris had finally seen what his family had been seeing. When asked what Chris's family saw in Shanann, Jameson said that they felt she was very shady and had a dark past, such as sleeping with her old boss even when she was with Chris, and having money issues with her old boss. Jameson said they told him they felt Shanann was very conniving. Jameson said that when he saw Shanann, he didn't see that, and that she was very pleasant. Oh, snap. I had never heard that there was rumors, allegedly, that SW was sleeping with her old boss. Ever. Not just that when she was with Chris. So then those rumors would have been that she was doing that with her first husbands too. Her first husband too. Wow. Queen of the Dirty South, I say. Whoa. Jameson said he never trusted Shanann because of all the things that Chris's family were telling him, but that he never saw any of those things in Shanann himself. Yeah, because she chooses what she wanted people to see. Jameson said that Chris never specifically told him what was causing him to want to separate from Shanann, but that he told Chris about his conversation with Cindy and what Cindy was saying, and Chris confirmed that he had seen that side of Shanann and that he was done. Jameson said that he hasn't seen a change in Chris recently in their conversations, but he could see in his eyes that he was stressed and worn out. Jameson said that Chris has always been a nice guy with no signs of a dark side and has always been a great friend. Jameson said he saw Chris and Shanann in July in San Diego when they came out for a trip for Thrive. Jameson said he drove to San Diego and saw them one day, and that Chris was the same as he's always been. When asked what was his opinion of Shanann was, Jameson said that he initially liked her. He said that when Chris first met her, he was very excited, and that he was very excited for Chris. Jameson said over the years Chris's family had an issue with her, and that she had an equal issue with them. Jameson said that he started to get the feeling that there was something to what they felt about Shanann, since they were closer to her than he was, as he was Chris's friend. Jameson said that every time he was around them, Chris and Shanann were good, and Shanann never exhibited the traits that Chris's family saw. Jameson said he never saw what Chris's family did. Jameson said Chris never told him about seeing the things in Shanann that his family did, but Jameson never asked him about it either. Jameson said, hold on, and I've got to just think about this again. You know how it's like so weird about all the Lees and the Nicoles? Now, it's Jamie, his best friend's name. And what's Chris's sister's name? Jamie. So many coincidences in this. Oh my gosh. Jameson said Chris never told him about seeing things in Shanann that his family did, but Jameson never asked him about it either. Jameson said that Chris has always been a quiet guy and only opens up to people he's comfortable with. Jameson said that Chris is the type of guy who would do anything for you, and that he's been there for him several times when he was going through things. Jameson said that Chris is such a good guy, and this is all such a big shock. Jameson said that Chris loved his daughters very much. Jameson said that he has never seen a mean side to Chris. Jameson said that Chris is very much like his mother, Cindy, and they are both sweet-hearted people. When asked what ways Chris dealt with conflict and issues in his life, Jameson said that he and Chris haven't talked as much over the last 2 or 3 years, but that if Chris was going through something serious, he would reach out to him. Jameson said that Chris also had a lot of support and friends in Colorado that he spoke to more often than him. Jameson said that he believed Chris's routine was to go to work and take care of his family, and that was it. When asked, Jameson said he did not know who Chris's friends in Colorado were and said he'd never met any of them. Jameson said he didn't know of any other friends of Chris that we could talk to. Jameson said that he believed that a lot of people that Chris knew, he knew through Shanann, and they were her friends. When asked, Jameson said that he did not have any other information that we should know of, or know of anyone who we should talk to other than Chris's family. I provided Jameson with my contact information and advised him to contact me with any additional information. End of report. That was the audio recording of the interview of Mark Jameson, a sailor in the United States Navy. Thank you for your service, Mr. Jameson. And then the handwritten investigators' notes. No. Investigators' handwritten notes are attached to this report. There's no narrative for this report. Oh no. Let's see how bad this is. Oh, whoops. I just did that again. Sorry. Okay. Notes for notes retention. Let's see. On August 21st, CBI Kellen Hassenstab was forwarded an email from CBI agent in charge Kirby Lewis regarding a court order to preserve notes related to this investigation. On August 30th, 2018, I scanned and attached all of the handwritten notes related to this case in the supplemental report. In addition, the notes from AIC Lewis and analyst Julian Ganley are also attached to this report. Synopsis only. Okay. Follow up at Lazy Dog Restaurant. Okay, so the handwritten ones were just probably put in a file, hopefully. Follow up at Lazy Dog Sports Bar and Grill by Agent Matthew Saylor. approved by Kirby Quinn Lewis on 8/31/2018. It occurred at 3100 Village Vista Drive, and that's in Erie, Colorado, 80516. The Lazy Dog Sports Bar and Grill. And the synopsis is the follow-up at Lazy Dog Sports Bar and Grill. And the action taken was on 8/16/18 at approximately 14:50 hours, so that would be 2:50 to us civilians. Colorado Bureau of Investigation CBI agent Matthew Saylor responded to the Lazy Dog Sports Bar and Grill located at 3100 Village Vista Drive in Erie, Colorado. On 8/11/18, Chris Watts and Nicole Kessinger ate dinner there sometime between 1700 and 2200 hours, so that would be 5 o'clock and 10 o'clock. So between 5 and 10 they ate dinner. It was reported that Watts spent approximately $60 on a salmon dinner. Well, that Watts does like his seafood now, doesn't he? He's probably not getting much seafood out there in Wisconsin. Upon arrival, I observed video surveillance cameras throughout the restaurant. I contacted the on-duty manager, who advised me that the cameras belonged to an old system, and if they worked at all, they were simply live view and were not recording to anywhere. The manager told me that he could search for and give me a copy of the receipt from Watts' transaction with a credit card number, specific time, or the credit card number, but with the limited information I had, he would be unable to locate it. I advised the manager that I would contact him if additional information that would enable us to locate the receipt was obtained, and he advised he'd be more than happy to assist in any way he could. End of report. Oh my goodness, why don't we ask anybody at Thrive? I'm sure that Shanann screenshotted that charge to every single person that she dominated the entire Thrive conference with analyzing. Okay, so now we've got FBI Chris Watts discovery, and that's by the Tam Burglar, and that is 8/31, approved by Kirby Quinn Lewis, that the FBI shared a discovery disk with reports for CBI case inclusion, which will be added to the supplemental report, and it is the Watts discovery at 7A, TAC DN, TAC 2970827. This supplement does not contain a narrative. And I put in all those numbers and stuff in case somebody out there listening wants to get something else based on what we've talked about here. And then we've got Damian Fern's interview by Agent Stacey Galbraith on 8/30/2018 from 11:25 to 11:50, so about a 30-minute interview, approved by Kirby Quinn Lewis on 8/31, and it says the CBI is assisting with Frederick PD with this case, and CBI is looking into statements made by Trent Bolte about a relationship he allegedly had with Chris Watts. Buckle up, folks. Here we go. I need to get a drink of my Gatorade for this one. I remember this one coming out on those sleazy news outlets when this whack job was trying to say that Christopher Watts paid for his lip jobs and all this stuff. So, Agent Galbraith interviewed Damian Ferns, 10/24/1990. That's his birthday. So he was born in 1990. I graduated in the year 1990. So Damian Ferns is that much older, huh? Agent Galbraith interviewed Damian Ferns, whose birthday 10/24/90, by phone on 8/30/2018 to inquire about statements made by Trent Bolte to Agent Tammy Lee, aka the Tam Burglar. Ferns admitted to knowing Bolt from rehab in 2011, but adamantly denied any friendship or sexual relationship with Bolt. Upon an additional attempt to ask question of Ferns on 8/30/2018, he asked that questions be direct to attorney Nancy Mullen, 307, redacted. So he had to get an attorney. And then it says that Damien Ferns is 18. So he was 18 in 2018. Okay. Wait. That does not make any sense. Because it says interviewed Damien Ferns 10/24/1990 in parentheses, and then it says Damien Ferns, 18-year-old white male. In 2018, he'd have been 28. That doesn't make sense. And it says his occupation is roughneck oil drilling. Well, what is that 10/24/1990 in there? Then I wonder. That would have to be 28-year-old white male, not 18. Doesn't make any sense. And then it says that Nancy Mullen is an attorney who's a defense attorney. So you want anything more, you contact my attorney. Oh, who does he think he is? Oh my God. And then, let's see here. CBI is assisting Frederick PD with this case, and CBI is looking into statements made by Trent Bolte about a relationship he allegedly had with Chris Watts. Agent Galbraith interviewed Damien Ferns by phone on 8/30/2018 to inquire about statements made by Trent Bolte to Agent Tammy Lee, aka Tam Burglar. Action taken. On 8/30/2018, Agent Galbraith texted and left a voicemail for Damien Ferns. Ferns called back at 11:25 hours. Ferns reported that he knows Trent Bolte from drug rehabilitation in 2011, and then Bolte used Ferns' social media photographs on a gay site without Ferns' knowledge. Which prompted, in parentheses, gay dudes from Grindr or something to start hitting me up. This was via Facebook Messenger 3 to 4 years ago. Ferns learned that Bolt came out as gay or bisexual at some point after rehab and started using Ferns' pictures as his own and was talking to gay guys. Ferns used Facebook Messenger to message Bolt and told him to stop using his pictures or he would, in parentheses, kick his ass and report him to law enforcement. Bolt swore up and down that he was not. At one point, a roommate or friend of Bolt's confirmed to Ferns that Bolt had been in fact using Ferns' photo as his own on sites. Ferns had been under the impression that Bolt stopped. Ferns adamantly denied a sexual relationship or even a friendship with Bolt. Ferns had never even hung out with Bolt. Ferns insisted that he is not gay. He said that he is blunt, and if he was gay, he'd be out and admitting that he is gay. Ferns said that he felt targeted and violated by Bolt. He suggested that Bolt must have had some sort of infatuation with him. Ferns blocked Bolt on Facebook. Ferns called Bolt a weird dude who sought attention from everyone at rehab. Ferns said that this must be his effort at getting attention because he never had a relationship with Bolt and Bolt never gave or sold Ferns a cell phone. Ferns said that in rehab, he had no knowledge that Bolt was gay and only realized it after Bolt was using his photos for guys while pretending to be Ferns. Ferns was very confused as to why he was being contacted in the Chris Watts investigation. I explained to him that Bolt took to social media and then media alleging a relationship with Chris Watts. I told him that Bolt was interviewed by authorities and alleged a relationship with Ferns too. Ferns laughed and denied this, saying that Bolt appears to tend to do that since he's also alleged a relationship with Ferns. Yes, not allegedly, alleged. Ferns said that someone told his girlfriend that Bolt said he had a relationship with Ferns, which Ferns adamantly denied. Ferns said it sounds like Bolt runs around saying he had relationships with guys for attention. I asked if Bolt lied to the CBI and FBI, stating that Bolt gave or sold Ferns a cell phone at any point, and Ferns said that is a lie. Ferns had no idea why Bolt would have used Ferns' name in his statement to authorities. He again stated that he is not gay and was not friends with, nor did he hang out with Bolt. Ferns said that he is not gay and has never had sexual contact with another man. I'm not gay. I've never stuck my dick in a guy's butt. Ferns knew about the Chris Watts case from the news. He knew it as the guy that murdered his wife and kids. That was all Ferns knew about Watts. Ferns had no information that Bolt would have had known Watts prior to media coverage of the case either. He alleged that Bolt knows nothing about Chris Watts. Ferns was at first not fully cooperative with questions, and he was confused as to his involvement in the matter. After I explained that it is our duty to fully vet the credibility of all information as it comes in pertaining to the case, he became cooperative and understood the reason for the call. He said that he would cooperate in any way that he could. He agreed to meet at Cheyenne PD if needed. He assured me that Bolt was lying about any relationship with him or giving him a cell phone. Ferns lives in Cheyenne, Wyoming, and works in an oil field. His Facebook provides that he works for Ensign Drilling. Interview concluded about 11:50 hours. Agent Lee subsequently talked with Trent Bolt by phone. He provided that Ferns assaulted him in Gillette, Wyoming in 2016 and spent time at Bolt's house and was observed by his mother there. On 8/30/2018, Agent Galbraith, got back in touch with Ferns by phone to inquire further. I asked if Ferns possibly ever assaulted Bolt in Gillette, Wyoming, and he denied that and told me that I could contact his lawyer for additional questions, Nancy Mullins. I called the number provided for Ms. Mullins, but it was an incorrect number. I researched Ms. Mullins online and located Humphrey and Associates PC, in which Nancy Mullins is located at redacted Cheyenne, Wyoming 82001, phone number 307, redacted. I left a message with the secretary on 8/30/2018. She asked which client the call was pertaining to, and I provided last of Ferns, and the secretary said, Damien? Which I confirmed. The secretary said Ms. Mullins was in court but would return my call. At the writing of this report, I have not received a return call. I contacted the below listed law enforcement agencies in Wyoming and requested their records for Bolt and Ferns. And it stated that they contact the Gillette PD, and there are records for Ferns but not Bolt, and the Cheyenne PD and the Campbell County Sheriff's Office, of which there are records for Ferns but not Bolt. And the attachments are the Gillette PD records and Campbell County records. And it continues with the interview with Trent Bolt at Larimer County. And Larimer County Sheriff's Office on 8/29/18. And the interview went from 1545 to 2030. So 1545 is 3:45 and 2030 is 8:30. So we're talking of almost a 5-hour interview. And it's got the Tamburglar and it's got Graham Coder. So the two of them went in their county vehicle, you know, them big old Lincolns. They probably put the pedal to the metal and went out here to Larimer County in Wyoming and conducted this interview. So the synopsis is stated that on Wednesday, August 29th, 2018, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, CBI agent Tammy Lee, aka Tamburglar, was informed of a potential witness who came forward and claimed he had a homosexual relationship with Christopher Chris Watts. Chris was arrested on Wednesday, August 15, 2018, for the murder of his wife, Shanann, and 2 young daughters, Bella and Celeste. The witness was initially identified through Facebook profile name as Trent Bolt. The report documents my contact with Trent Bolt, age 28, who lives in Glen Rock, Wyoming. So it states down here, it's Trent Wayne Bolt, who's a person, 28 years old, white male. And his occupation is an LPN/makeup artist. Okay, so he's a licensed practical nurse and a makeup artist. And allegedly a liar. And officers are Graham Coder, Special Agent, FBI. Okay. On Wednesday, August 29, 2018, I called Frederick Police Department Detective Dave Baumhover and spoke with him about Trent Bolt. I was aware Bolt had made a post to the Facebook page Chris Watts, accused killer of Shanann Watts and children. The post, which is attached to this report, was as follows. Now, they put Shan in an apostrophe, capital N. So whoever did this Facebook was just grasping. And it says, so this is what Bolt wrote, and he wrote a little manifesto here. So this is what he did, and I saw him on E. So I know how he talks. So I'm going to talk a little bit like him on here because I've been getting Facebook messages and phone calls from people asking me how I knew Chris, why I had relationships with a married man, people trying to blackmail me and threaten to expose me. When I first got the call from authorities due to messages on app he had on his phone, the last thing I wanted was my name out there. But after all this shit, I'd rather tell my side rather than someone else. I met Chris last summer. We had relations off and on from last June until March or April. I found out he was married with kids in February. I didn't know that when we first met. Yes, things happened on more time. Then I ended it. And the stupid witch hunt trying to find his mistress and all the men and women he slept with is fucking ridiculous. The only thing we're guilty of is trusting a stranger. I can only speak for myself, but before this happened, I would have 100% told you that Chris isn't a murderer nor a sociopath. He told me he was the victim of emotional and mental abuse and was stuck in a loveless marriage but was too scared to leave because of Bella and Celeste. I can totally understand why anyone who had sexual relations with Christopher would want to stay out of the public eye. Since I got the call and I was told what happened, I haven't slept more than an hour or two at a time at night. But like I said, the only thing I'm guilty of is trusting someone who seemed so kind hearted and genuine. But I guess this is a life lesson. I'll always have to live with the fact that I have a relationship with a married man who's also a murderer and a sociopath. So the people on Facebook messaging me on Facebook and Twitter, etc., threatening to expose me, do it. I have nothing to hide. I just wanted to put this out here before someone else leaked my name. I'm sure there were multiple women, and I'm probably not the only man he slept with, but the whole thing is that none of the people he slept with owe the public anything. So all of these things about hashtag mistresses come forward is fucking ridiculous. You have no idea what I'm going through, let alone anyone else he slept with. So let's focus on getting to the bottom of up in between the people involved with the crime and only them or him. I'm not up for any criminal charges, and neither are any of the others. Okay. Now, what I can't show you here, unfortunately, because I'm not that talented, is what he looked like when he talked. And he has these gigantic, huge, protruding, well, baboon lips. He's had them over injected, so they look like kind of like a monk. And he went on to every place that he could try and get, in every media outlet, trying to get money, saying that Christopher Watts paid for those lip injections for him, and all of this stuff. And I think he is a creep and a liar, and it's disgusting how he tried to interject in this case. The last thing in the world that case needed was this thing trying to interject himself to get money. He's disgusting. And now it says, I was also aware Bolt had given an anonymous interview to Ashley Banfield on her program, Crime and Justice, on HLN Headline News. During the program, Bolt indicated that he had an almost 10-month affair with Chris Watts, and he had met Bella and Celeste. This is why I hate the guy. Now, I love Ashley Banfield, and I think that she's a wonderful journalist and an attorney. And I've watched her for over 13 years. And it's very upsetting that she lost her job because she started asking the questions that we all ask about the Watts case. It's wonderful to see her back on top with her own show, Banfield. Now, when she had him on the show, I felt it was something she shouldn't have done, that her producer shouldn't have done, but I understand why they did it, because if they wouldn't have, then they wouldn't be covering this, because he really interjected himself into this and was like literally all over everything. And so people were sitting there getting all confused. And that's the thing, is that he added more lies. He added more and more lies and wasted resources like this. That, town burglar once again, gets an out of town trip, for what? To go and interview this liar? And then it's upsetting that he was not charged with lying to law enforcement, because he did lie. I mean, he has no proof. None. And I really think it's disrespectful to Bella and Cece the way that he talked about them and said that he knew them. Because we know that Christopher Watts made good decisions in who he allowed into his children's lives. And he did not introduce them to Nicole, which was the one woman that he was involved with when the decision had been made, by him at least, that he was over the marriage and that he was going to be separated, divorced by his wife. He didn't have Nicole Kissinger meet his girls. So why would he with this? This is ridiculous. And it's very, very, very ridiculous. Just ridiculous. So here we go here. Detective Baumhover requested I attempt to locate Bolt and interview him regarding his alleged relationship with Chris Watts. I located a cell phone number for Bolt and called to speak with him. I identified myself to Bolt, who indicated everything has blown up. Bolt explained that he was a nurse and was currently working in Wyoming. Bolt indicated that he would be back in Fort Collins the following day and would come to the CBI for an interview. Bolt requested I text him the address for my office. I asked Bolt if he was okay, and he said he was getting drug around by social media. I asked Bolt how long he knew Chris, and he indicated he had known Chris from June 2017 until March or April of 2018. I asked Bolt if he had already spoken to someone in law enforcement, and he said no. Bolt said someone called him and lied to him, telling him they were affiliated with law enforcement, so he asked to meet them and see their credentials. I thanked Bolt for speaking with me and disconnected the phone call. A short time later, I received another phone call from Bolt. Bolt indicated that he had a producer on the other line during our previous phone call and didn't want them to know he was actually in Colorado. Oh my God. So he called with a producer on the line when he was talking to a CBI agent. So he was doing that to try and act like he's legit when they're just basically calling because he put himself on a social media post, which got everybody talking. Well, attention getting troll is what he is. Bolt advised he was staying in Fort Collins and advised he could meet with me later in the same day. I advised Bolt I had a meeting at the Frederick Police Department at 1:30 p.m. and then I would drive to Fort Collins to meet with him. Okay, so Tamburglar didn't get another weekend out of town. At 3 o'clock p.m., I called Bolt and asked him to meet myself and FBI Special Agent Graham Coder at the Larimer County Sheriff's Office, which was located at 2501 Midpoint Drive in Fort Collins, Colorado. Bolt agreed and arrived at approximately 4 o'clock p.m. So I guess it's contagious, just like the like herpes. You start saying like when you listen to Nicole like Kessinger talk. When I said Graham Coder, my throat started to get a frog in it because now I'm like trying to clear my throat like Graham Coder. Remember in the interviews, he's like, yep, it's exactly it. So it's just all these things absolutely contagious from the discovery. So S.A. Coder and I interviewed Bolt inside a private recorded interview room at the sheriff's office. Please review S.A. Coder's report for full details on the interview with Bolt. During the interview, Bolt indicated he had messages from Chris during the time they had known each other. I took screenshots of the messages which are attached to this report. At the end of the interview, Bolt was offered a polygraph. Bolt advised he would possibly take a polygraph, but he would need to speak with his lawyer first. At approximately 8:30 p.m., S.A. Coder and I left the sheriff's office. At 10:17 p.m., Bolt called me and advised his boyfriend had just kicked him out of his house. Bolt said that he returned home after his interview and admitted to his boyfriend that he was a male escort. Bolt said he had figured he had to admit it since it was most likely going to be published in the news, and because Chris had already admitted details about their relationship during his previous interview. Christopher Watts did not mention you because he doesn't know you, you weirdo. Bolt said his boyfriend got upset and told him to leave. Bolt said he was going to stay in a hotel for the night, but would like a civil standby to collect his property the following day. I told Bolt to call the Fort Collins Police Department and request a civil standby. He said, I want the feds. On Thursday, August 30th, 2018, at 11:06, I tried to call Bolt. Bolt did not answer, and the message indicated his mailbox was full, so I could not leave a message. At 1 o'clock, Bolt returned my phone call and we spoke about Damian Ferns. In parentheses, note, CBI agent Stacy Galbraith conducted a phone interview with Ferns earlier the same day, and Ferns was adamant that he had not seen Bolt in 3 to 4 years and had never had any sort of relationship with him. I asked Bolt to describe Ferns, and he advised Ferns was approximately 6 foot tall, kind of muscular build, and used to work on the oil rig. Bolt stated Ferns was also getting a lot of money from his family, and told Bolt at one point that he, Ferns, was working as a heavy equipment operator. Bolt said he and Ferns dated on and off for approximately 4 years. I asked Bolt if Ferns identified as gay, and he said no. Bolt said he recently learned Ferns was with a woman. I asked Bolt about the last time he spoke to Ferns, and he said that Ferns contacted him 2 to 3 weeks prior and asked how he was doing. Bolt said Ferns had also been to his, Bolt's parents' home in Casper, Wyoming, which his parents could verify. Bolt said Ferns talked to him about wanting to purchase a new truck. I asked Bolt to explain the domestic between he and Ferns, and Bolt said it occurred around 2016 in Gillette, Wyoming. Bolt said the incident occurred at a gas station, and Ferns tried to rip him out of the passenger window of a vehicle. Bolt said that the employees at the gas station called the police, and Ferns told Bolt he had been charged with a crime related to the incident. I asked Bolt if his parents could confirm that Ferns had visited their residence within the past year, and he said yes. Bolt said his father would most likely not talk to the police because he was old-fashioned, but his mother would probably be willing to speak with me. Bolt said he would call his mother first and make sure she was okay with him giving the CBI her information. Bolt called back a short time later and advised his mother said it was fine, and her name was Colleen Bolt. Here's her full cell number is here, and I'm not going to do this to the poor woman. I thanked Bolt and disconnected the phone call. At approximately 3:10 p.m., I received a phone call from Bolt, who advised he received an email from the Colorado Public Defender's Office, more specifically Brooke Mendoza. Bolt said Mendoza indicated she represented Chris and wanted to speak with him. Bolt asked me if he should speak with her, and I advised him I could not provide him legal advice and he would have to make that decision on his own. Bolt said he understood my position, but he did not feel like speaking with them. And the investigation continues, and the attached things are in there. And then we've got a text message with Nicole Kessinger, and it is with Kevin Kobach, and it is another synopsis of on August 16, 2018, Colorado Bureau of Investigation CBI agent Kevin Kobach was assigned to interview Nicole Kessinger regarding this case. From August 16, 2018, my communication with Kessinger, with the exception of recorded interviews, was completed by text message. The attached screenshots represent all text messages between Kessinger and I from August 16 to September 4. On September 4, 2018, Kessinger met me and Frederick Police Detective Dave Baumhover at the CBI Lakewood office. Detective Baumhover has taken over my responsibility for communication and information gathering from Kessinger. The synopsis only, and no further narrative is associated with this report. Refer to the attached screenshots of text messages for further. And it states again that Nicole Lee Kessinger is 30 years old. Her alias is Nikki, that's Nikki. And then it shows that there's an interview with Anthony Brown, a coworker at Anadarko, from Greg Zettner with approving agent Kirby Quinn Lewis. And Anthony Brown, and this is regarding Christopher Lee Watts. And let's see here. On Thursday, August 30th, 2018, Colorado Bureau of Investigation CBI field agent Greg Zettner interviewed Anthony Brown in connection to the Watts homicide case. Brown was identified as a co-worker of Chris Watts at Anadarko. Action taken was on Thursday, August 30th, 2018. I interviewed Anthony Brown at the Anadarko offices located at 501 North Division Boulevard, Platteville, Colorado. Brown worked with Chris Watts in the oil fields for Anadarko. This interview was recorded. The following is a summary of the interview. For a complete account, please review the attached audio file. Brown told me the following. Brown said he first met Chris Watts when Brown was hired at Anadarko in August of 2016. Brown said Watts was assigned to train Brown on how to check the oil wells on his route. Brown said after Watts trained him, Brown didn't have much contact with Watts. Brown said that was mainly a function of his job duties because his job requires him to work alone most of the time. Brown said Watts started talking to him about 6 months after Brown was hired. Brown said this was mainly because of the house explosion in Firestone in 2017. Brown said after the explosion, Anadarko started having Sorry, I thought I heard something. Hey, wait a minute. Oh, that's what I heard. You. No. Not on there. You. That's what it was. Is Big Boo coming around the corner. You cannot be on there. That I did not see you. I heard you. You jumped up. You tried to go on the keyboard. Would you not go on the keyboard? You silly. You silly. Well, now we're going to need to wrap it up because Boo said so. And if I don't do it, he's going to put his butt on the keyboard. Okay. We're going to finish this up. Boo Boo, can Mama finish? Let's see. Brown said after the explosion, Anadarko started having more team meetings, and that was when Brown said he and Watts started to become friends. Brown said they mainly spoke about fantasy sports, but after a while, Watts started to talk about his 2 daughters. Brown said Watts mentioned that both of his daughters had some medical issues, but Brown didn't know exactly what the medical issues were. Brown also said that Watts spoke about Thrive and a little bit about Shanann, Watts' wife. Brown said that he never met Shanann. Brown said Watts never spoke to him about any marital issues Watts was having. Brown said Watts mentioned that Shanann was gone on a business trip about every other month for her Thrive business. Brown described Watts as a very quiet and as the go-to guy at work, and Watts was always calm, cool, and collected. Brown said, I haven't seen 1 ounce of violence in that guy, according to Watts. Brown said he was also friends with Watts on Facebook and said there were usually 5 to 6 posts a day on Watts' Facebook feed. Brown said these posts appeared to come from Shanann updating her Facebook account. Brown said he never hung out with Watts outside of work. Brown said he and some of the other workers at Anadarko invited Watts to come and play poker with them every other weekend. Brown said Watts never took them up on the offer, and they stopped asking him to come after Watts turned them down several times. Yep, Shanann would never have allowed that. Brown said Watts went to North Carolina during the first week of August 2018. Brown said he thought Watts came back from this trip on August 7, 2018. Brown said the last time he saw Watts was on Wednesday, August 8, 2018. Brown thought Watts took off work on August 9th and August 10th, 2018 to take Shanann to the airport and to watch his children. Brown said he knew Watts was at work on Monday, August 13th, 2018, but he never saw Watts. Brown said he was going to go out to Survey 319 and check a leak in the dump line, but he knew there was already 5 other people from his team at that site on Monday morning. Brown said he last knew that Chris Watts, Troy McCoy, Cody Roberts, Melissa, unknown last name, Chad McKeel were at Survey 319, so he did not go there. Brown said that on Monday, August 13, 2018, he arrived at the Anadarko office in Platteville at about 6:10 a.m. Brown said he went to the break room and then he went to Luke Eppel's office. Brown said at some point he overheard part of a conversation that Chad McNeil was having with someone on the phone. Brown said he later learned that McNeil was speaking to Watts. Brown said he heard McNeil talking to Watts about Watts going directly to the field first thing in the morning instead of coming to the office. Brown said he thought that was very unusual because Watts always came to the office first before going out into the field. Brown said he could not ever remember a time when Watts went straight to the field and didn't come to the office first thing in the morning. Brown said the first time he heard anything happening to Watts' family was on Tuesday, August 14, 2018. Brown said he saw on the group email at work that Watts was not coming to work today. Brown said he initially didn't think anything about it. Brown said that he and McCoy went to a location to turn on the well when McCoy said something to him about Watts' family had gone missing. Brown thought this was about 8 a.m. and they were at the Roland Okay, so this was Tuesday at 8 a.m. Okay, that makes sense. Brown said McCoy told him that Watts was getting ready to do an interview on the television about his family missing. Brown said he immediately reactivated his Facebook account. Brown had previously deactivated his Facebook account because it was a waste of time, and started posting the stories he could find out about the Watts' family and asking everyone he knew to be on the lookout for them. Brown said he and McCoy talked about the situation, and McCoy told Brown that Watts had been having issues with Shanann, and Watts had been sleeping on the couch recently. Brown said he was not aware of any issues Watts was having in his marriage. Okay, so McCoy knew it. McCoy knew that they were having issues and separating. Brown said McCoy told him that Watts said Shanann had taken off her wedding ring and left it on the counter before she disappeared. Brown said that he and McCoy speculated that Shanann had left Watts and she took the 2 girls with her. Brown said they even speculated that Shanann had met someone while she was on one of her business trips for Thrive. Brown said McCoy also told him that Watts and Shanann didn't take any clothes or medicine for the girls. Brown said he did not have any contact with Watts on Tuesday, August 14, 2018. Brown said that Watts made a comment to him about 2 months ago, which Brown thought was unusual. Brown said he and Watts were at a location called Arrowhead Farms and they were in the process of getting the site ready to start pumping oil again. Brown said Watts had told him that he and Shanann were expecting a baby. Brown said he told Watts congratulations, and Watts said in return, "Do you want one?" Brown said Watts made this comment with no emotion, and Watts didn't appear to be very excited about having another baby. Brown said he thought Watts was offering him their baby. Brown said he thought Watts was kidding, but Brown said after the recent incidents surrounding Watts, Brown wondered if Watts was being serious about giving away his baby. Brown said now that he's had a chance to think about the situation, he thinks Watts may have been dating a girl in the Anadarko office. Brown said he thought Watts was dating a girl named Nikki. Brown said he saw Watts and Nikki standing near the break room talking together. Brown said he thought Watts and Nikki were standing extremely close, and Brown thought that was unusual. Nothing further. G. Zettner. Attachments are the audio file with interview of Anthony Brown. And what do you know? This is page 666 of 1960. I couldn't make this up if I tried. I'm gonna get it this page. Oh, maybe we'll just stop there. We'll just make it real easy and we'll just stop there. Because Boo is going to jump back up on me. Oh, I don't know. Because what does this say here? How long is this one? Well, let's do this really quick because I just saw something. So, on page 666, the 666, the number of the beast, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, Investigative Supplement, report date 9/5/2018, there's a CBI Facebook tip that says, possible teeth marks on Chris Watts' neck. Possible teeth marks on Chris Watts' neck. On 9/5/2018, that the Town Burglar reports on the synopsis that on Wednesday, September 5th, 2018, the CBI Facebook page received a message from a user, Rebecca Alex. Alex indicated she had also notified the Frederick Police Department regarding potential teeth marks on Chris Watts' neck. Alex provided what appeared to be still images of Chris taken from his interview on the local news and still images of his daughter, Celeste's teeth. The images and messages from Alex are attached to this supplement. It should be noted, images of Chris's neck were taken at the evening of August 15, 2018, following his arrest, and the images were maintained by the Frederick Police Department. This supplement does not contain a narrative, and the witness is Rebecca Alex. So she thought that she saw that. I mean, and I thought that you could see some things on his neck. I agree. But they took the close pictures, and we know they did such a thorough job here. But I don't know how Celeste would have jumped up and bit him, but you know. Anyway, we got from 618 to 667. We made some progress here. And we went from discovery pages 697 to 759. So, and let me see here, because then we're going to go 1723. Thank you so much for listening to this extended edition of part 23. And I hope you guys are continuing to have a great beginning to your new year. Thank you for listening. If you haven't yet, please like and subscribe. We are at 835 strong. Let's get it to 1,000, guys. We can do it. We can do it. Come on. Let's get up there. I know you're listening. So thank you so much for listening. As always, I hope I was worth your time, and I do thank you for your time. And here we are. See you again soon.